So yes, I've been missing for 4 days. But make no mistake, I'm back. So ponies,
You're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes.
you see, Sony fans are convinced that Sony make the best style of games, that single player narrative driven games. You see, the only thing that is wrong with that style is that it's a one and done. When you finish that game, there is no longevity, and that's known all in the industry.
Whoa! Guts of War 2! Entrails of Intestinox! Colon slash! Rectum kill!
We've made a game that'll reward the hardcore gamer with hundreds and hundreds of hours of...
Finished it.
Huh? But working on this game cost me my marriage. I have twins I've never met.
Well, when you meet them, tell them your game's too easy.
Damn! I'm sorry.
You're sorry, but I'm not. Because if you were to compare games that Xbox fans are known to be playing, which is Halo, that game can be played for years upon years. What about Fable? Let's not even talk about Fable with all the different things you can do in that game. That game also can be played for years. And the interactive style of gaming when it comes to Forza Horizon, again, all those games are bang for your buck. When it is you buy those games, you know you're getting your money's worth. Now, the latest entry that's sticking to that tradition that Xbox has is Avowed. Yes, despite all the negative news surrounding Avowed and the clear bias by the industry, I mean, IGN giving Avowed the same score as Concord is diabolical. I mean, come on, IGN. I know you hate Xbox, but you hate them that much? Concord? But yeah, despite the media trying their best to downplay Avowed, everyone is playing Avowed. Avowed is doing well in many different circles. I mean, Avowed is really a great game that gamers all around the world is playing. We even see that Avowed was the most talked about game for since it released, topping the charts of persons' discussion when it comes to Avowed. So yes, Avowed is doing well, and it could only grow as the months go on, and we see the community and the devs make improvement to the game, make different mods to the game. So this game is only going to go up from here. Now, when it comes to the industry, we are seeing that not much persons are buying games in the industry, and it's not just me saying that, guys.
Yeah. 30% of people that play video games will not buy a video game this year.
Wow.
So that's a third of the audience that just won't buy. A further 18% purchase a new game every 6 months or less frequently. So these are your folks that are buying Madden or EAFC, or they're picking up Call of Duty, right? Your big mass market only kind of buyer. The kind of purchaser that's watching this show, you're probably buying at least one game a month, maybe more. Only 12% of video game players buy a game once a month.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Only 4% buy games more often than once per month. So, when we're talking about the developers and the publishers that are really being, hurt the most, that we're talking the most about, are the games that are really targeting this, like 16% of total players that are, purchasing very frequently, while the mass majority of players are buying a game or two a year, and they're playing Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox. And I think that's like the biggest challenge. The biggest competitor to any new video game is Fortnite. I will die on that hill, no matter what it is, because you have to fight Fortnite before you fight anything else to get your game seen and purchased. And that's like the biggest challenge I think happening right now.
So yes, it's very clear that the industry is changing, and we have to be honest. That is why we could say that Sony is in trouble, because Sony is constantly using the old model when it comes to, surviving in the gaming industry. They are hoping to sell as many consoles, and they think that would be enough. Now, because persons are not buying a lot of games, your model need to change. That is why we are seeing Xbox using different models, different tactics, how they can grow their business and how they can make the gaming industry as healthy as possible. So the PlayStation fans, the ponies, would always push to make it sound like it's only Xbox that is doing bad when it comes to console sales. But the fact of the matter is this: every console is down, and you can see the evidence here. Not only Xbox, we are seeing PlayStation 5, they are down when it comes to selling, and also the Nintendo Switch. Now, we know the Nintendo Switch will have an uptick when it comes to, their console when the Switch 2 comes out. We know that PlayStation 5 did get an uptick because of their PlayStation 5 Pro. Out of the 3 there, only Xbox did not release any new hardware when it comes to something new. Right? So when Microsoft does release a console, of course, and they generate hype around it, of course we would see an uptick in their consoles. But as we would have said many times, the console sale is not the most important thing, and it's not a gauge as to tell where if a company is doing good or not. What does that is the MAUs. What does that is the software. And we know Microsoft is killing it in that aspect. So yes, don't let these ponies fool you to make you think it's only Xbox. It's very clear that every other platform, their consoles are down. Today, however, let's talk about Sony. Yes, there are some persons who are saying enough is enough, Sony. You have done enough. So they are coming for Sony. We'll see what that means as this video continues. So you know what? Let's get it.
This is a sickness!
Let's get it. So before we continue the video, guys, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the road to 4,000 subscribers, and no doubt that sub would help. So if it is this type of content interests you, we give you great Xbox news, great Nintendo news, and of course the Sony Pony. So hit that like button today and subscribe. Now let's get back to the video. The PlayStation community, yes, the ponies, would have you believe that everything that Sony does is golden. Sony can't make a mistake when it comes to games, when it comes to acquiring studio. I mean, this generation, we would have seen it in our face, the mistakes that Sony would have made. I mean, could we just say one word? Concord. Yes, Concord. But not only that, another bad decision this generation that Sony would have made was the acquisition of Bungie. You see, Sony would have hastily acquired Bungie because they were being very reactive to Microsoft acquiring Activision, Blizzard, and of course Call of Duty. So they wanted to basically slap Microsoft in the face for acquiring the shell, the skeleton, the graveyard that was Bungie. And now they are seeing how terrible a decision it was. I mean, we could recall the then president saying that they need to have returns on their investments when it comes to Bungie, and a lot of the things that Bungie would have promised did not come to fruition. We would have known that. Well, it just so happened that Bungie is the bad decision that just keeps on biting. Yes, because one retrenched or laid off developer would have not laid off, fired developer would have gone about to sue Sony. Yes, he's suing Sony for wrongful termination. Now, could he win? I mean, you never know. You never know what could happen. But let's listen and see what this, lawsuit is about. Listen.
Is back hard against Bungie veterans' wrongful termination lawsuit. The PlayStation maker's first substantive response to the headline-making claim includes text messages from fired designer Christopher Barrett. His camp calls them misleading. The gloves are off in a high-stakes lawsuit involving Sony. Bungie, and the veteran Bungie developer Christopher Barrett, who in December sued the gaming giant over what he alleges was a sham investigation that led to his firing over alleged misconduct. In Sony's first substantive response in the lawsuit, the company is denying Barrett's claims and leaving zero doubt that it believes the termination last year of Barrett's 25-year run at Bungie was justified. To emphasize its position, Sony's initial answer to Barrett's suit also includes 9 text communications between Barrett and female Bungie employees that it claims reveal his pattern of misconduct. In December, Barrett, a longtime senior designer on Destiny and former head of Bungie's upcoming Marathon project, sued Bungie and its owner Sony for defamation and breach of contract. Among other claims, Barrett slammed Bungie's investigation, denied that he'd committed a fireable offense, and accused Sony of letting him go in order to deny him more than $45 million that Barrett was to be paid as a result of Sony's 2022 purchase of Bungie. Sony's new 128-page filing, technically an answer to Barrett's lawsuit, is largely a line-by-line response to the December claim. It was entered into the docket at the Delaware State Court of Chancery last week and has been reviewed by GameFile. The new filing begins with what is essentially a preview of Sony's pending motion to dismiss 6 of the 7 counts in Barrett's lawsuit.
So right now, guys, Barrett is looking at Sony and telling Sony this.
A crook. You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this?
The document states that, in Sony's view, Barrett was terminated last March following HR complaints and an investigation that allegedly revealed a pattern of behavior in which Barrett supposedly targeted a lower-level female employee he wasn't working with directly, initially engaged in friendly conversation, and progressively pushed boundaries with the employee by making subtle references to her physical appearance or expressing his interest in her romantically.
So yes, this past Bungie developer Barrett, he is suing Sony for $45 million because this is exactly what he was about to be paid because Sony would have acquired Bungie. But it just so happened that he is claiming that the reason why Sony would have fired him is because Sony knew they were going to pay this $45 million and they didn't want to pay him that. So they would have put this charge onto him. Now, no doubt Sony would have evidence that he was doing this to the female employee, and no doubt the mere fact that Barrett is suing Sony means that he has evidence that he was not. So we have to wait and see what would take place. But this does sound like Sony. Sony is the type of company who will do anything to keep the money, because you know why? These guys are broke.
I make nothing. Zero. Zilch. By the time I pay all my scientists, all my people in my research department, lab coats, it's a wash. Well, why you do it then, baby Billy? Well, because I'm selfless.
Let's see how this lawsuit turns out. Now let's look at another group who is suing Sony. Yes, another group is suing Sony. This time they are suing Sony for their services. Yes, they are saying that Sony is charging too much for their services. In addition to that, they are saying that here what these anti-consumer practices must be stopped. So because of that, they are suing Sony because of all of these allegations. Now let's listen to see why they are suing Sony. Listen.
Consumer Group files lawsuit against Sony over the PlayStation Store. Dutch consumer group Massachade and Consummate has filed a lawsuit against Sony, which accuses the company of abusing its market-leading position to keep prices high on the PlayStation Store. The consumer group argues that Sony charges much more for digital games on average in the PlayStation Store than it does for physical games. Sony has faced legal action in the past involving the PlayStation Store, including a £5 billion lawsuit that alleged PlayStation's terms and conditions for developers and publishers that sell games on its platforms were in breach of competition law in 2022. In 2023, Sony faced a $7.9 billion class action lawsuit over its PlayStation Store practices, which alleged that the company was overcharging customers and abusing its dominant position in the gaming market. 2 years later, Sony is now dealing with a lawsuit in 2025 that places the PlayStation Store under legal scrutiny once more. in a new lawsuit against Sony. Massashade and Consummate argues that digital games on the PlayStation Store cost 47% more than physical versions, despite the costs of publishing and distribution being lower, as reported by MP1SD. The claim is based on research conducted by the Dutch Consumer Group, which alleges that the PlayStation Store's closed system and Sony's dominant position in the console market leads to artificially high prices. Massashade and Consummate is unhappy with the lack of choices for consumers on the PlayStation Store, since people are discouraged from buying digital game keys from other stores. The lawsuit echoes similar claims from the 2022 lawsuit filed against Sony in the UK. The lawsuit alleges PlayStation Store practices and Sony's dominant market position led to artificially high prices. PlayStation users in the Netherlands may join the lawsuit for free if they bought any items or games from the PlayStation Store. The first court hearing will take place at the end of the year.
So there you have it. Sony is in a lot of trouble because of their anti-consumer ways, because of them being so sneaky. Sony is so sneaky. But let's see how all these lawsuits turn out in the next video we'll be having on Suing Sony. So guys, let me hear what you thought about the video today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.